So recently I had some pretty good questions about different things that I've done. So I figured I'd answer a few of them and show you some of the mistakes I've done. Well, first mistake. I mounted the radiator very far forward. I had pushed it 2 inches. I don't know if you can see that. 2 inches forward, because it gave me a lot of room to do a lot of stuff down there, get away from the steering control arm and all of that. Well, that was a fail because everything worked perfectly, everything fits perfectly, but now when I put my hood on, my hinges hit the top of the radiator. Something I did not foresee. So now I have to move the whole thing back 2 inches to clear the radiator. So that was a fail, but I'll fix that probably today. What else did I do wrong? Well, I think one of the other things I did wrong was putting the body back on before I had run this center bar for the hoop. I had not yet installed it, and the problem with not installing it is it's hard to figure out how to get all the way up through there and still use the holes that I have. So I might have to either waller out the back cut, which is there, or lift the body up, slide it up through, bolt it into place as I drop it down on again. So that's a possibility. Let's see. Foot pedal. Somebody asked about my foot pedal. You can see there's my clutch, brake, and foot pedal. And you can see there's a gap back there from the previous owner. That's one of those eBay specials. They're $85, but I'll tell you what, that is a beautiful foot pedal. And it's even got the little spring right there on the end of the thing. So that's really nice. And just a standard throttle kit where it comes out right here. I don't know if you can see that. Comes out of the firewall right there. Follows its way around and comes up here and ties right into the throttle on this, and it works perfectly. So it's a very good pedal. I was asked why I used a 4.6 liter Ford engine. Well, I know gas mileage is a stupid reason, but you know, it's only got a 15-gallon tank, and I like to do a lot of driving. I don't want to stop at every gas station, so I didn't want 8 miles a gallon. I also wanted something that my wife and I can just go and enjoy without always having to be broken down because I can't get the part. Well, the 4.6, I can get any part that anybody needs. You know, if I lose an alternator, and let's say I drive over to Tennessee, I lose the alternator, guess what? I can pick that up at any store. If I lose anything. And here's another nice thing. You raise the hood up, right there are my fuel injectors. Right there are my coils, and right there are my spark plugs. So if I have to replace a coil, replace an injector, replace anything, it's on top of the motor. If I have to work on anything, it's easy to get to. We all know that 427s and other engines, spark plugs are down there. Good luck getting to those, you know, in through the exhaust ports and all that. This is the perfect engine, whether you use, you know, any kind of modular engine where the spark plugs are on top, fuel injector is on top, everything is right there, easy to get to. That's a perfect engine for a Cobra, in my opinion. Now, you notice there's one reservoir in the back. I've got a soft line going to a hard line, and I'm running all of that to the front brake, rear brake, and clutch down to a, see if you can get in there, down to a proportioning valve with the brake switch built in. It's all Willwood. It's pretty good stuff. And I got soft lines going to that. And with the modular engine, normally you have a hydro boost. I took the hydro boost out. I don't have power steering, so that's gone. That's just replaced by a pulley, and I'm using a bolt that's literally right off the block. I just had to machine a spacer to get the offset perfect. No big deal. It's a standard Ford. You know, was that a 6 PK, and then the belt that I used, I think that's a 2.5 inch pulley. The belt I used was that 6 PK 2310, and that fits perfectly as long as I still have my air conditioning, which I have air conditioning in here. And one other thing I think I did that was good is normally on the Street Beast and the CMCs and the Fiber Fab, there's a cutout right there for the battery. Well, the problem is I couldn't get the battery in and out very easily with all this in. So I took the battery out and I'm relocating it in the trunk. But the good thing about that also is that whole area is now going to be heating and air conditioning. I don't know if I'll buy a compact unit and install it in that opening and do that cutting, or if I'll build my own. That just waits to be seen. And the nice thing is on this modular engine, there's your heater core pipes run to your heater core, your hoses. So it's nothing to route these directly right there for your heater core. And then there's lots of room for fan and everything right there in that wheel well. So that'll be easy. Well, everything takes 8 hours. But yeah, I located the oil filter between the block and the cross support so that when I'm under the car, I can spin off my oil filter and drop it down and not get any oil on anything else. So I think that was smart. Of course, these lines are both running in there to the oil filter now. After I get the oil cooler installed here, then I'll be able to, you know, run the line in, go out, go through the oil cooler, and come back to the engine. So that's set up so I still have the availability. And I actually have my oil pressure switch, or oil pressure sending unit. Oil pressure right at the oil filter, which I think is a better spot. And of course, fuel pressure. I took the nodule out of here and I added a fuel pressure gauge to my fuel rail because I really don't have any other place to put it that's hardlined like this. I'm going to buy a 90 so it comes over and kind of runs along here so it looks a little better and it doesn't stick up, because it is a little bit proud when you're looking at where the hood's at. So that's another thing. That's another thing for another day. But that's the way I did it. And a lot of this will change because I got to shorten it up because I'm moving this in and blah blah blah. But because I don't have a mass air sensor in this, I have the Terminator X, which has a manifold air pressure sensor. I only have a vacuum tube going out. So this is nothing more than just air intake. It doesn't have any sort of electronics in it other than the temperature sensor, which is on the other side. So that just tells you what your air temperature is. And that'll be fine. That's an easy one. And then there's your cam sensor. And down there's your crank sensor. And the crank sensor, I think I'm going to build some sort of a hard line for that to go into. Since it's so close to the belts, if I lose a belt, I don't want to lose a cam sensor. Or at least the wiring going to it. Another good thing is, if you notice on my, when you're doing your camber and caster, your toe in, on these Fords they slide back and forth this way. Well, what I did is I welded a nut here and here. And I got a bolt here. So if I have to, or the people are going to do the alignment on this car, it's a lot easier to loosen these bolts up just a little bit and turn that nut, fine tune it to get it right where you need it. I could have went with a larger heavy duty plate with those, and maybe I'll even change that, but I think this is a good idea. And if you hit a hard bump, you got a little more meat behind you so these don't skip and slide on a hard bump. So that's something for people to consider. But other than that, I've got tilt wheel, turn signals built into it. I don't have a key. I have a push button start, which will go right here. So under here is a push button start. Under here will be my lights. And if you look real close, you can see I only have little pieces of cardboard to show where I'm going to put my gauges. I already got all my gauges, I just haven't installed them yet. Then I'll have, you know, high beam and turn signal, put all the gauges in here. Those are a couple cup holders I have to drop in. I'm probably going to install a mount between right down in here with a cover, so I could keep my electronics for the Terminator X and still have maybe a radio in there that's hidden, just a Bluetooth radio that you don't see it. Then in the back here, I think I'm going to create a cover back here, because that's a lot of good storage. You know, there's not exactly a glove compartment in here, and I don't plan on putting one in. I do think I'm going to put a grab handle right there, and real nice. But on this side, I think I'm going to close this in and put a nice cubby door hole. That way I can pack things in the back here and not have to worry about, you know, keep them out of the rain or keep them out of people's prying eyes. Good place to keep a pistol. And of course in the trunk, that's where the batteries goes. I just moved that. That's where your fuel inlet goes from there. Goes up to there. You do have a stainless steel bar. That'll go in there between the two of them. I'll cut it size and I'll put nice rubber boots attaching the two of them. And down inside there I have a vent tube also. So that vent tube will vent to the outside for any fuel smells. This is my painless wiring system. I still have to install the wiring going from for the headlights, tail lights, all that stuff. The only thing I have is the engine management system is standalone. That's already done. And I think that's about it. My interior is going to be gray. I don't know if you can see. There's my seat. Got gray interior. And I'm going to create a nice padded elbow pad. And up there in that tube, which you don't see. Yeah, there it is. Up in that tube is another 3 yards of the same material that they have the seats made out of. So that way I could do door panels and this elbow pad that I'll do here. And I know that if you notice that there's no parking brake, that's because I will not have a regular parking brake. I'm going to do an electrical switch. I'm going to have an electric parking brake. All I'm doing is running the regular Ford cables up underneath here, and then I'm just going to do a 600-pound electric solenoid, if you will, that will pull hard on the brakes and do it that way. That way I don't have a manual handle on it, and I'm not too worried if somebody says, oh, you need to have a... No, I'll be fine. But yeah, so that's the way I'm doing it. And who knows how you're going to do it. Maybe some of these ideas are good for you, some not so much. But yeah, I'm getting to the point now where I'm installing the body. The mechanicals are mostly done. I'll install the body, everything else I can get to. So I think doors are next. Pretty soon I'll fiberglass all this in, cut this out, get my hinges installed, put the doors in, that way I can get in and out of here pretty easy, and then start putting in the cup holders, fiberglassing in all the little accoutrements, install the windshield, which is up there in that box up there. You can see the nice smiley face curve. That's my windshield. Hoop's already been mounted and dismounted 18 times. It works. It's fine. I just gotta install it. So we'll just see. Get it all put together. Take it for a spin in the neighborhood a few times. Work out any bugs, and then I guess we'll start looking at wiring. Once the wiring's done, I'll work on the paint. But yeah, not too bad. Not too bad at all.